Coming up on episode 170 of Creative Writing, I'm sharing how I wrote and launched a book in a month.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hello and welcome to Creative Writing. This is the podcast for you, a writer, blogger, or creative who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy. I'm your host, Kirsten Oliphant, and I'm so glad that you're listening, whether this is your first or 170th time. Thank you so much for taking the time and for being here. It makes me so happy to know that you are out there listening. If you want to let me know that you're listening, if you want to connect, I love connecting. My inbox right now is an inbox of death. However, you can email me, kirsten@creativewriting.com, or you can reach out on Twitter or other places. I'm Kiki Mojo, or just hang out in the Facebook community so you can actually talk to other wonderful people. And that's creativewriting.com/community. And today I'm really excited to share something that I kind of hinted at in the Facebook group and maybe even on the email list that I was going to do, which is basically unpack this crazy adventure that I've undertaken with my friend Courtney, aka EC Farrell, as we decided to write and launch a book super fast. So a month ago, this was not an idea I even had. And now we have a book that will probably launch next week, which is insane. And I really love the book. I really love it. So anyway, I have a lot of things to say, but when I was putting the show notes together, and you'll be able to find those if you go to creativewriting.com/170 for episode 170. I got super overwhelmed writing the post, like actually putting down everything I've done in the last 3 weeks. I got so stressed out, y'all. It was not stressful doing it, putting the post together, describing everything I've done. I was like, oh, this is why so many things. But in the moment, it was really fun, and it's still fun. We're doing a trilogy, y'all, so it's not like one book and we're done now. We are done with the first book, but we're also 30% maybe into book 2. We have the covers. The third cover, it should be here tomorrow. Anyway, it's very exciting. So yes, we're still in the throes of it. I'm trying not to get overwhelmed by my own list. So fair warning, you might be overwhelmed. However, this is still going to be a valuable episode for you if you want to write and launch a book, because you may not want to do the things the way that we did them. You may not want to do them at the speed that we did them, but I think you're going to find some valuable action steps and things that we did. And this may not be every launch, what this one particularly looks like. And so I'm also going to do some follow-up episodes that are more geared toward what a normal launch looks like. Or maybe even, I was thinking about doing something where it was like, what a launch looks like if you have no list, what a launch looks like if you're starting from scratch. Because essentially this is the second pen name that I have started from scratch in the last 18 months. And the email list is up to just over 1,500. And I think by the end of, in the next week, I'm doing a promo right now, it'll probably be over 2,000. So it's really growing. I have a lot of excitement myself about the books I'm writing. It's young adult, paranormal. And it's just very exciting. Urban fantasy, paranormal. I feel like more people know generally, from mainstream, if you say paranormal versus urban fantasy, which is contemporary, but with things like magic and wizards. And anyway, so let's get into this. Again, warning. You may get stressed out. Please don't. And I'm not also advocating that you try to write this fast. This brings me joy. Marie Kondo will not take away my writing fast. It brings me joy. I really, really like it. And I did not know I could do it. I've talked about this before until I actually wrote a book in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I can write a book in 2 weeks. And that's actually my best-selling book under Emma St. Clair with over 100 reviews on Amazon, called The Billionaire Love Match. And I wrote it in 2 weeks. And so that was the first book that let me know that I was actually capable of this. That doesn't mean I do it every time, but knowing I can took away the middle barrier. So maybe I'll do a whole episode on that, but I want to go through this list. But I just want you to know, I am not saying this is what you should do. You should not necessarily, unless you want to and feel like this is your thing, try to write and launch a book in a month. Okay. But because I did, it packed all this information, or not information, it packed all these actions into a very small space so I can share them with you guys and you can kind of follow along. And I hope to have some good reports on the launch soon. We'll see. Okay, so how to launch a book in a month. This is our timeline, and I'll go into a little more detail in some spaces. And again, if you want to actually follow along and see these things in the list, And when I start, sharing brand names of like tools that we use, you can go and find these in the show notes, createifwriting.com/170. Okay, so day one, and I had to go back and like search through Facebook messages. Day one was June 29th. So maybe we're not quite going to launch in a month. It may not be by the 29th, but the book is done and it's with the proofreader. It's with the ARC reader. So soon. So I woke up that morning with an idea for a book, actually a series, a trilogy in a genre that I hadn't written in. But I'd been sort of watching through all these Facebook groups. Now, if you guys know me, I lurk around in a lot of Facebook groups. I don't want to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I don't actually know. I can't tell you because I don't know how many groups I'm in. It's over 500. That's what I know. I do not hang out in all of them. In fact, when Facebook like shows me a group in my news feed, I'm like, oh, I remember I'm in that group. Leave. And I leave the group. But I'm in a lot of author groups. I'm in a lot of genre groups, and I watch what's going on. I watch the Amazon bestsellers, and I've been planning to write young adult for really almost a year now and been working on things behind the scenes, just trying to get them ready to launch because I want to launch them like the series close together. So anyway, I am aware of some trends going on, and one of those is Paranormal Academy. And what that basically is, and there's some young adult and then some new adult. New adult, they're a little bit older and they're a lot sexier. Although there is some still explicit stuff, which is surprising to me, in young adult. But young adult, obviously they're younger. They're like high school age academy. So think of like Harry Potter going off to wizarding school. It's that kind of stuff, which people, obviously they loved Harry Potter. This is really popular. It's not just become popular, but right now it's really hot and there's so many of these books out. So I'd been watching that and just watching. I hadn't planned to write a book, but I woke up with an idea that I loved. So by mid-morning, I had emailed a friend, Courtney, and she and I go way back. I don't know how long I've known her since I moved to Texas. So whenever that was, when did I move to Texas? 2000. So I've known her for, oh my goodness, I've known her for almost 20 years. And she came to mind because I know she writes books in similar genres. I was thinking, I want to write something and get it out fast. I think Courtney writes fast. I think she would be a good partner for this, and I'll just see what she says. And so I emailed her, I just sent her a Facebook message. I have this crazy idea. I want to write a book really fast, and here's what the idea is. Do you want to do this with me? And she said yes. And by the end of the day, we had knocked out a couple chapters. So this is kind of how it went. I had an idea. And I'm a person, again, if you listen to the show or know me, a lot of times when I get an idea like this, I don't wait. I just jump. There are some ideas that I do take a long time to simmer over, but this was like a no-brainer. There's a no risk, right? For me to take some time. I really needed to get my brain out of clean romance for a little bit. I just needed a little break, and I just wanted to do it. So why not? I'm not missing out on anything. So I wrote out a not very legal contract in Google Docs, and I'm actually have downloaded since then a more formal one that we're going to both sign, but still pretty like it didn't hire someone. I would recommend getting something more legal, but I'm not going to get into the details of why. Friendships can be worse. So like, I know you might be like, just because you're friends with her, but I just feel okay about this. So we do have something in writing. It is not the most legal of things, but I did download a template and have updated that, and we're getting that together. So, and we started a Google Doc too. Actually, one is a planning document, which has kind of the ideas and everything else. And then one that's the manuscript. Now, usually I write in Word, but this was so that we could each be writing. In fact, sometimes we'd be writing at the same time, which was like a really weird thing, like working on different chapters. And then so we just started. We started that day. We both, I wrote a few chapters to kind of kick it off. I had told her the idea for it, and I didn't really know how to co-write and had never done it. But to kind of give you some background on Courtney and my relationship, which I think makes sense as far as how it worked. I kind of told her I wanted to have the editorial control. Because I've been publishing, she's been writing for a long time as well, but I've been publishing and self-publishing for quite a while. And this was the idea that I kind of came up with as well. Not that it was firm and fixed because I'm a pantser. I write by the seat of my pants. I don't outline. I just have general ideas. But also Courtney and I, when we did meet, she was just coming into high school and I was her youth leader. So I was out of college. So there's a little bit of an age difference there. And so I would say Courtney and I are friends now, but there's also sort of that's how we started, was with me in a leadership role. And I tend to steamroll people, but I think Courtney has let me happily steamroll her, but we're going to talk about it after we were having dinner this week. So I told her to be honest with me. But I started out writing and then, would just say like, hey, I think we need some of this in there. Just go ahead and write what you want. And she's a pantser too. And so we just kind of let the story start unfolding. I went ahead that day also and came up with the cover concept. And I was very familiar with the genre. As I said, I'd been watching it. I have a Deposit Photos account. I always get these from AppSumo. It's not available now. It just was. Very worth it. So I found one girl who I wanted to be on the cover. And I always try to do this. I try to find one model that has a bunch of different poses and then buy all of those so that I can use them all in the different, branding and marketing materials. So I bought the person, I created a mock-up because I'm a control freak, and then sent it to the designer. Like, here's what I want. Here are 4 examples of other books in the genre. I even actually went and bought the font that I wanted because I wanted a specific font. And so I sent off the cover design that very first day. And we kind of wrote out in the planning document an outline-ish. We don't outline, paragraphs that describe the book, the general things we knew we wanted to happen, general information. Courtney started a character Bible, which I think we both forgot about, or I have not been adding to it. So I need to get in there because I was like, wait a minute, what color eyes does this person have? So we did create a chapter list and just kind of general informational stuff. I started making a list of keywords. Actually, maybe I did that on day 2. Okay, so let's switch to day 2. We did talk a lot also on Facebook Messenger. So Facebook Messenger has been our method of communication. The next day we continued to write the novel, but I had an idea for a prequel that would be a really great reader magnet. So I started writing that, and that was short. It was 12,000 words, and I actually finished that on day 3. And so I went back and kind of edited that, but I still was also working a little bit on the main book while Courtney was working on the main book. She was more focused on the main book while I was doing the prequel stuff. Again, we were messaging a lot. And then I think that was at day 3, I have down that I was researching the keywords in comparable books. And I put in our planning document the keywords, and I used Publisher Rocket. It used to be called KDP Rocket. And basically what that is like I was searching for different titles, because when we created the title, which I had the idea in my mind, Supernatural Reform School, and that's what we did. Supernatural is a keyword. School is, but Academy is better. So the series title is Blakemore Paranormal Academy. So that has lots of keywords in there. And we were searching, or I was searching using Publisher Rocket to see, because sometimes when you phrase things a certain way, and a lot of this is really on the back end, when you end up putting the book up on Amazon, you get these keywords, the 7 keywords. They're not just one word, it's like a keyword phrase. And I'll see if I can find, well, I can't find an example. I don't have that open right now, but it was the difference sometimes between phrases that would, those phrases when they're searched are making $100 a month or $3,000 a month. And so obviously you're going to go with the keyword that's 3,000. So I made a list of really good keywords, and I think categories as well. Day 4, I ordered the cover for the reader magnet. And at this point, I think we had the cover for the first book because my designer, I paid her to do it extra fast because I wanted to see it immediately. I was really excited. We finished editing the reader magnet and wrote a description for it around day 5. And some of this, I'm not exactly sure, like I had to go back and trace through Messenger. But on the 5th day, I formatted the reader magnet, uploaded to BookFunnel, and then I sent it to a few beta readers, like a few people who I wanted to get feedback on, is this working? Is this good? I got some good feedback on that. I also wrote a description for book 1 while I was writing the description for the reader magnet. And I set up the pre-order for the first book. I used the keywords I searched on Publisher Rocket. I used the description I wrote. And I really have gotten a lot better at descriptions. I have one that's coming from Best Page Forward, which is a description writing company that actually won a description. So they're working on one, but I wanted the pre-order up and they weren't going to have my description ready. So I wrote one, and I bought a book from Brian Meeks, and I've shared it in the Facebook group. I think it's, I'm not going to remember the name because it's about blurbs, but on Amazon descriptions, basically from Brian D. Meeks. I'll share that in the show notes as well. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better, a lot snappier. And so anyway, I went ahead and did that. And then obviously we're still writing. Basically every one of these days we're writing and also doing this stuff. The 6th day we started sharing the pre-order for the list. Once it went live, I shared it under my pen name. I shared it in some emails that I sent out just over the course of the next couple days, because I'd already set up some email swaps, newsletter swaps with other authors. And so I started sending out emails and I talked about our pre-order in them. I put it on Facebook on my personal page and just said, Courtney and I are working on something, because a lot of people, we have a lot of mutual friends as well. And then really days 7 through 16, we finished, you just kept writing the book. We continued trading ideas and coming up with what needed to happen. There was a brief pause where we kind of stopped and looked back at the whole book. Because again, we're pantsers. We're trying to figure out what's happening as we go, which worked really well since we both do that. But we went back and read the whole thing, made some adjustments, and then continued on. But this is where I started really working on the promo aspect. So I joined a lot of young adult reader groups. So groups made up of readers, not just authors dropping their links, especially groups around paranormal and academy. I joined a couple of author groups for people writing YA books, or specifically YA urban fantasy. And I started setting up some newsletter swaps in these young adult swap groups that I've been in. Some of them I've already been in for a while, because again, I've been planning out this pen name. I didn't plan the series a year ago, but I was planning this pen name out a year ago behind the scenes. I also created some promotional graphics with the book covers and the source files, which I ordered from my designer. So what that means is she gives me the Photoshop of them, which I don't actually have Photoshop. I don't do enough with it to pay that subscription fee, but I had a friend kind of like take out the words so I could just have the like background and the person. So I could create some graphics in Canva, which is free, and I use that all the time. I made a Facebook group with my co-author that's related to the book and will serve us past the launch of the series, and started posting some engaging things. I created a welcome series for the Reader Magnet, which promotes in the welcome series. And so it's a series like once people sign up to get the freebie that I wrote, then they're going to get through this welcome series. And I'm going to keep mentioning the pre-order, which I'm going to have to update once it's live, just to say it's live. But the prequel relates, obviously it's a prequel to the series. And so it's a very good driver of sales. I sent, also paid for some ads that would send traffic over to that free, short story prequel. And so I got some good signups from that. I started posting in share threads in some of those young adult reader groups. So whenever they would have a, like weekend share, put whatever you want in the, in the group or whatever. I posted the Reader Magnet. I posted the pre-order links in some of those groups where it was appropriate. And I also signed up for an author takeover in a very active group that's promoting young adult paranormal academy books. And I started Facebook ads in this time. Again, realize this is over 2 weeks. Like I'm summarizing because I just couldn't track down all the days. This is all within a 2-week period. So I just did a little of this each day. But I started Facebook ads to the Reader Magnet. And the first ones were not converting very well. I was getting like 25 to 30 cents per click, which is not great, especially considering the conversion rate on BookFunnel. It was very high for the paid ads. So like I paid, one of the services was called BookDoggy, and you pay them, I think it was $18. And then they send a bunch of their readers over to, who are interested in this kind of book, to BookFunnel to get my free download. But when I did this with the Facebook ads, they did not convert as well. And so I turned those off and worked a little bit harder the next couple days, and finally have got some ads that have been running. At first they were running at like 10 to 20 a day. And then I've taken it way back. So now they're running at $5 a day, because I have some other places and, I want to be spending our money. I don't want to spend a ton of money. But this is growing our email list. So like I said, we've gotten, I think over 600 now just for this freebie within a week's time, which is fantastic. So we did that, and then, emailed our list, gave them the freebie and all that, because I already had 1,000 people or just over 1,000 people on this email list, because I've been growing it. Even though I don't have a book, I've been growing it for a year. So now we're at like day 17. And this is when I ordered the cover for the second book in the trilogy, the description for book 2, and set up that pre-order. And that was right before day 19, where we finished writing the book. So in just under 3 weeks, we wrote the whole book, and, read through it and edited it ourselves. And so we started editing again. Like we'd gone through it a couple times, like as we went, updating things, but that's when we started editing. And what I did for this one is I actually had it in Google Docs, and I used the feature on your iPhone where you put 2 fingers and kind of drag down, and it will read out loud to you in that robotic annoying voice. And I found a lot of typos that way. Still missed some things, but that's how I, edited the book. And so day 20, we finished our edits of it. So we formatted it, sent it to some beta readers. Now, I've done a post on this and I'm going to link to it in the show notes, but I've done a whole post and podcast episode about betas and ARCs. But betas essentially are the readers who see it before anyone else. It may be messy. It may have more typos and those kinds of things. They're not really there for that. They're there to kind of give you feedback on the story. And I had some really good readers. I really struck out also because I used a Paranormal Academy Facebook group, and I got 4 people who like really wanted to read it and then didn't respond, which of course then makes you think that they hate the book, and maybe they do, although I think the book is great. And so, when you think about, I know with ARC reviewers, I just whittled my team down to like 55 for my Emma St. Clair. And I've been very active and they've been very active. But, my latest book, I still, I don't have 55 reviews on it. I have something like 35. We're 2 weeks out. And, I know all those were not my review team. So like you're not going to get all that, especially with strangers, but it still made me super nervous. But the ones I did get back, it was good feedback and it was helpful. And so we made some changes. And let's see, then basically I kind of sat around worrying for that day till I got some feedback. Day 25, we're skipping ahead because really all we were doing in that meantime was starting book 2, because again, it's a trilogy. So while we're waiting for all of this other stuff to happen, we were working on the second book. So now we've finished edits and things that the beta reader said. We formatted the book again for ARC readers, which for me meant copying it from Google Docs over to Word, setting up the headings, and then going into Vellum, which is the program I use to format. And this is really what I did with every step. So like I did this the beta readers got a Word document. The ones I didn't know, I might have sent them something through BookFunnel as well. But I did like a barely formatted copy for the ARC readers, and then also sent it to my proofreader. And so we have a paid proofreader, and I do sometimes like to send it to the ARC readers at the same time. Now, if you're wondering where I got these ARC readers, it was through these Facebook groups that are based on Academy things. And so I did a few posts asking for ARC readers. There is another group I'm going to ask for ARC readers, but I wanted to get it back from the proofreader first because that group is much more of a polished, like they want everything. It's a very much more professional group. And so I'm not going to send them one that has not been through the proofreader, but I did explain to the ARC readers getting this, you're getting the early sneak peek. And that's what I said to them. So, there may be a few things in there. We've edited it, but it's also with the proofreader. So we did explain that. So right now that's where it is. And then we ordered the third cover for the third book in the series. We came up with the name for that, again, using keywords from publisher Rocket. And so now we're just writing book 2, waiting for the proofed copy of book 1, and then we'll publish. Now, the pre-order is set to release August 20th, but we will likely, I'm really anxious to get it out there, but I want there to be like 2 weeks in between these book launches, because that really, 2 to 3, because that keeps the momentum going. Some people who read voraciously like to wait till the whole series is out. Amazon likes to promote books that are within the 30-day new release more. And so if you can get a trilogy out where they're all within that 30 days or, close enough to each other, it's really beneficial for your book sales. So that is kind of everything we've done. And it's a lot of things. I may have forgotten a few things in there. The things I'm still going to do, I'm going to set up some Amazon ads, and it's been a while since I dipped my toe in that pool, but there are so many comps out there in terms of this kind of book. I just want to get our pre-order more visible if I can. And I think the last time I checked, we had about 50 pre-orders of book 1 and then like a handful of book 2, which is even shocking because I'm really not even promoting book 2. And Amazon will no longer connect they will no longer make a series page for pre-orders. Or if you have a series, like if you have 4 books out and a 5th book is on pre-order, they will not connect that to the page. This is new as of July. So I'm not even trying to set up a series page, but I forgot to put this in there. I need to add this in the show notes. We both set up and claimed the pen names, and I had a video on that in episode 169. We set up and claimed the pen names so that if you go and look at Sullivan Gray, you'll see the first 2 books, because the third one I don't have the cover yet, but this week I should have the cover up, and all 3 pre-orders will be up on Amazon if you go to Sullivan Gray. So at least you can go to like my name and you can go to E.C. Farrell's name and see all 3 books, even if there's not a series page. And so that's what we did. I've got a list of tools. I'm going to stop talking because I think I'm just vomiting information at you at this point. But we have a lot of tools that we use. I've mentioned most of them, but I list them out in one small place and kind of the costs. I have put more money into this than I did when I was launching Emma, which is, my clean romance pen name. And the reason is because I have a lot more faith in knowing the system. I know we're writing in a hot genre, which is to say, I was writing to market. If you've heard that term, it means basically you're writing to an audience. You're writing books that an audience is already hungry for, and clean romance is growing. But what I found when I was writing is that billionaire romance was a hot trend within the overall clean market. And so the paranormal romance is a hot trend within an overall pretty great market. And so I have some good faith in the system. I know what's worth spending money on, and growing your email list is always going to be that thing for me, especially if you have faith in your words. I love our prequel. I really love our first book. And having read a bunch of Academy books, which I guess I should have put in there that I also did that. I think our book is really good, you guys, and I think people are going to love it. So I have a lot of faith in book sales. And so, I put more money into this because I've had a year kind of seeing, okay, this is worth it. This is not. I think that we will probably do a 99-cent sale right before book 2 comes out, and probably set up some paid promotions, but we'll see how it goes. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Running some Amazon ads, running some of the email promotions that have worked for clean romance, but it's a different genre, so I'm not sure which ones will work as well. And if you're kind of sitting over there crying in a corner, I told you not to be overwhelmed. I promise it's going to be okay. You don't have to do all these things even in a month. You could do a lot of these over time. It really, the more you do these things, the more they become not overwhelming, which I think is why for me this felt fun, and it didn't feel overwhelming until I wrote it down and was like, goodness, I've done a lot of things this past 3 weeks. I wrote a book and all this other stuff too. But it wasn't overwhelming in the time because I'm used to now writing just my own descriptions. I'm used to looking and making a mock-up of my cover art. I knew the genre well already. I know how to grow an email list. I know which sites I like to use for paid promotion. I know who my proofreader is going to be. I know which Facebook groups are good for finding ARCs and betas. I know which Facebook groups are good for promoting this kind of book. I came in with a ton of knowledge. And so that's one of the things that makes this possible to do it so fast, is because of the knowledge I came in with, even though I've been writing in clean romance, not in this genre. So if you're going to spend your money, I put this in the Facebook group, I put this in the blog post. And again, we'll talk more about in future episodes what I would suggest for you, because I don't think I would suggest doing all this in a month for you. But the things that really matter, MailerLite is what I recommend for email. It's especially for authors that has a lot of tools, but starts at $9 a month, or I think there's actually free up to, up to 1,000 maybe. BookFunnel is what I use to deliver the reader magnets. It starts at $20. And the reason that this matters is because you can grow your email list with BookFunnel. You can pay more if you want it to automatically connect to your email list, which I always do. And because I have 2 pen names, I end up paying something like $150 a year for that. And it's totally worth it. I use it daily. Actually, my inbox has been blowing up because of the Facebook ads. I have been growing, 20 emails a day. Something like that. And then BookDoggy and Instabooks, if you want to send traffic to that freebie, those are like $12 to $20. And if you don't know how to use Facebook ads well, so just so you know, I paid for a very expensive course on Facebook ads for authors and how to use them. And so that's the reason I was able to take my 30-cent clicks down to 14-cent clicks and 11-cent clicks at one time, because I took a Facebook group and really invested the time. If you don't have the time and know-how, you're going to get your best return for investment using something that does not require you to learn how to advertise. My covers were about $50. And if you are on a budget, you can absolutely find them. If you look for pre-made, search that in Facebook and then click groups, because they give you options. Are you looking for a person? Are you looking for a page? There are a lot of pre-made cover groups that focus around particular genres. I've mentioned before, goonwrite.com has a lot of pre-made covers, and you can I've always paid for an upgrade with him for custom branding, which means if you order 3 book covers from him, and they all have different fonts, but you've paid for the custom branding package, he'll use the same fonts on all of them. So your covers are branded, which is fantastic. So that's a really good way of kind of getting around custom covers, but paying a price for pre-mades. And then on Fiverr, there are some good cover designers. Just go and search for that and then check their work and see what their reviews say and what examples they have. And then proofreading, there's a wide range. I have friends who do this and charge a lot. It takes a lot of time. And there's different levels of editing that you can pay for. I have found several people and some that worked well and some that didn't work as well, who are more affordable. And so I'm actually trying a new person who is, I forget what her price is, but she charges per, it's either per page or per word. And this is her paid, service, and this is what she does. And it's less if you're just doing proofreading versus, developmental editing or copy editing or line editing, which are different things. And I'm not going to get into it, but there's a wide range there. If you're on the lower budget end, if you're hanging out in writer Facebook groups, search in the group for editors and see if people recommend people, see if people are volunteering their services and showing how much they charge. But there is a wide range in there of people. I don't think I would recommend Fiverr because with a book cover, you can see right there, like you see the cover, if you like it or not. Editing, I'd be a lot more nervous, and I don't want to go through and check my 60,000 word book, which is how much this was. It ended up being 62,000 words. I don't want to go check that to see if my proofreader did a good job. I'm assuming they did. That's why I paid them. So, but you do sometimes get what you pay for, because I've been through like 4 people and am not happy with anybody yet. But I also right now can't spend $1,000 per book, on proofing if I can find someone who will do a good job for 75. So that's where I'm at. And that's what I'd recommend if you're on a smaller budget. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do some follow-ups that are more geared towards you. And if you have questions that you want me to answer, things you want me to hit harder or delve into more, then join the Facebook community, creativewriting.com/community, and ask in there. I will be asking you guys too, so you can find the post and see what I should talk about next. And again, one last note on speed and co-authoring. Speed is a very controversial subject for people. When I came from an MFA background, which is a very different background than what I'm writing right now. It's much more literary. I would have laughed someone like out of town if they told me they wrote a good book in 2 weeks. Laughed them out of town. My first book took a year. My second it's not even done, so a year plus. My first Emma book took 3 months. The next took like 6 weeks, and the next took 2 weeks. And then I realized I had a mental block about it and different genres. Now, if I'm writing literary fiction, it's not going to take 2 weeks. Not every book will be 2 weeks, but I can do it. And I actually really liked the book, and so did readers. So it is possible, but that's not the goal. And I do talk about speed a lot because I love it. I have so many ideas for books, you guys, that I will never finish writing because they come to me like this one did. I did not plan this series out. It came to me one morning, and here we are launching a series now. So this is how I work. I don't think there's something better about going slower. I don't think there's something better about going faster. You need to find your speed. Now, don't shut yourself in a box. I had myself shut in a box and didn't think I could do something faster. Some of my books I write will be slower. But also, if you're writing into a hot market, then you need to get it out there faster or the market won't be hot anymore. So depending on your goals, you may want to attempt to write faster. This one, again, was intentionally speedy. And Courtney and I are both intentionally speedy writers. So it's been fine. But I'm not trying to glorify speed. I'm not trying to brag about speed. This is how I roll, y'all, with everything in life. I like to be fast. I like to get things done. I like to jump into them. That's not your thing. Co-authoring can speed things up. Courtney and I worked really well together. She brought some amazing characters that I did not see coming into the books. She has done a really great job when I started them out and kind of gave her my vision with matching really well, I think stylistically and kind of the tone of the book and the characters, just really, really great job. That did make it faster. I still think I probably could have done it in almost the same amount of time, probably a little longer, but I think the book wouldn't have been as good because we have had each other to bounce these ideas off of. And I really do think the book is better for us doing it together, but I don't always think that would make you faster either, because it's not just like 2 people make it go faster. You have to actually talk to the person and agree with the person and go through your ideas. So that can slow things down. So, it wasn't just faster because we worked together. I do think we worked together at good speeds and made the book better. But I'm not trying to glorify speed. I don't think if you just want to write faster, you should have a co-author, because that actually could slow you down, especially if you don't know if you work well together. This was a risk that I think has been fantastic for both of us. So, that is how we wrote and almost launched a book in a month. It'll be probably just over 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 5. It depends. I am so jumping on the gun. I just want to get this book out there. But also sometimes there's something to be said for slowing down, because again, we want that quick period between book 1 and 2. So I'm going to be sharing more things. Ask me all your questions and go to the show notes so you can find all the links to all the tools that I'm using. You can go to creativewriting.com/170. And if you want to be getting weekly emails, so you're finding out when the podcast episodes are out, you're getting the links right in your inbox to the show notes and other industry news, tools, tips, all of that. I dig around the internet for you and do your work for you. It's a no-brainer. You can sign up for that by going to creativewriting.com/quickfix. That is it for episode 170. Thank you so much to Courtney for being my partner on this wild journey. I'm really excited to share more launch details as they come with you guys. Thank you to Jasmine Commerce of JasmineCommerceMusic.com for the tunes for this show, which I love and hope you do too. Go visit her, go pick up an album. Does she have albums? Do we buy albums? Do you know what album is? Buy some tunes, listen to Jasmine, she's fantastic. Now is the time where I encourage you to go out and create content that you love and serve your people well.